Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee. I talk about books on this channel, mainly books about magic, and if you want to see more of that, you can hit the subscribe button down below. Today we are going to be wrapping up my May reading. So I was planning on doing a May and June wrap up since I only had 4 things to talk about. But unfortunately, I filmed that whole video and something happened with the footage as I was editing it, and the whole thing just, it's gone. It's gone. So we're going to start over and we're going to split this into 2 so it is not so much of a behemoth to edit and upload, and hopefully the editing problems won't happen again. So like I said, I have 4 things to talk about today. I have to say some of the details on these are a little bit sketchy because it's been over a month and I read 40 books for Amazing Readathon in June, so we're going to do our very best. I'm going to start out with To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Moniquill Blackgoose. This is the story of Anarquist, who is a young woman living in a historical, what seems to be America, but there is more of a Norse influence than a British influence in this version. Anarquist is from an indigenous culture and they have their own traditions and methods around dragons and dragon training, but since there is a colonizer influence, Anarquist has to go to a specific school to learn how to train her dragon, and even though she doesn't agree with this, she is in much more danger if she tries to fight, so she goes along with this. And I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a really well built debut fantasy. The world building was really interesting. I really liked the politics and the sort of blend between like the YA school setting as well as the kind of politics and exploration of the dragons that we had throughout this book. It was a nice balance for me as someone who doesn't always love a school set story. I really liked the balance in here. I also was really curious about the dragons. We didn't get a ton of dragon information in here. We got some, but I'm really curious when we get to the next books if there will be more, since the dragon will be older and we'll have I think we'll have more interactions with the dragon rather than Anarquist always being at school. The only thing I didn't really love about this was that I do think it could have been tightened up just a tiny bit. That's I feel like that's a debut author thing, that a lot of times there's extra bits and pieces in here that maybe we didn't need in this book but might be setting up for another book. And also that the chapters were super short. I felt like every time I was listening to the audiobook and speeding up the chapters, I felt like every time I turned around a chapter was starting over, going again, and I really didn't know that we needed that. However, it also ended up flowing kind of well. Some of the chapter titles felt like sentences, so like they were being strung together as sentences, so it was interesting that way, but the chapters were just super short and it sort of made the narrative choppy. I also read Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is the second book in the Chestnut Springs series. In this one, we are following Cade, who is the oldest brother, I believe, of the Easton brothers. I believe each one of these books follows the Easton brothers as they find love of their lives. And in this one, we're following Cade, who has a young son, and he is searching for a nanny for his son to take care of him over the summer while Cade continues to run the ranch. So this is a cowboy romance. He eventually settles on Willa, who is our heroine from the first book, Summer's friend, so that we've seen her before, and we get both of their perspectives as they embark on this journey of Willa being the nanny and the two of them being attracted to one another, and romance ensues. I had a bit of a interesting time with this book because when I finished it, I thought I was going to give it 4 stars, but the longer I thought about it, there was something very specific in the last third of this book that was part of the conflict of their relationship, so I don't want to tell you exactly what it was, but I felt like what happened was only going to exacerbate the problems of their relationship rather than heal anything. So it didn't really work for me the way things worked out in this book, and then there were also a few other quibbles that I had with this, so I'm going to end up giving it a 3-star rather than a 4-star, but because that thing really stuck with me and I kept thinking about how I didn't like that. I also read Truly Devious by Maureen this month. This is the first book in this series. In this, we're following two different timelines. The first is the present day timeline with Stevie, who's going to Ellingham Academy. Ellingham Academy is an exclusive private school where you can kind of explore your passion. People follow art or metalworking, acting, whatever they're interested in, and Stevie is interested in true crime. Specifically, the crime that took place at this school. The original millionaire who built the school, his wife and daughter were kidnapped, and the only piece of evidence left behind was a letter written by Truly Devious. And Stevie has been fascinated by this crime. We're following the two timelines of when it happened, and then also Stevie trying to figure it out. And it's a really interesting little mystery YA book. I was a bit bored in the first half. I was kind of ready to DNF, but I decided to push through and see how it ended up. And it did come around, and I did become a little more interested in it. However, I'm a bit on the fence on if I want to continue on with the series, because I just didn't get connected to anything that was going on throughout the book. I was put off a bit by Stevie as a main character. She was a little bit frustrating to me, and the choices she was making. So I don't know if that would get resolved in future books, because she's still going to be, a teenager. And sometimes YA just doesn't work for me that way anymore. So I'm not sure if it was just the character or the YA-ness of it all, but I gave it a 3-star. Then the final book that I read this month was Fireborne by Rosaria Munda. I actually read both To Shape a Dragon's Breath and Fireborne for a vlog that I did where I read 3 dragon books, and this was my favorite out of all of them. In this, we're following Annie and Lee. They both are orphans from a recent revolution in their country in which the power structure was overhauled so that these ruling families who rode dragons no longer were the ones making all of the decisions and enforcing laws and such. Instead, it's supposed to be a much more equal system. Lee is a survivor of one of those very powerful families, and he has secretly risen through the ranks of this new regime in order to be able to ride dragons and become a very important possibly a very important political figure for the future. That was hard to say. And Annie is an orphan that grew up in the orphanage with him, and the two of them have been friends since, and they are both these dragon riders now. And this was so fun. I loved the balance of this between the politics and the adventure and the dragons, and also there's a little bit of romance in here, but not too much. I thought that was balanced very nicely. Just the intrigue and the switching between the two points of view, it was all really well done, and I absolutely loved it. This one was really fun, and I cannot wait to get to the next book in this series. I need to do it soon because I really remember what happened in the end of this book, but I don't want to forget, so I need to hop on this and get into the next book in the series. But that's everything that I read in May, so we're going to stop here, and I will have a June wrap-up for you soon. I'm in fact going to film it as soon as we're done here, so you will see me again very soon with that. And that's it for me today. If you have any thoughts or feelings or want to share anything about the books that I talked about today, please let me know down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to let me know you were here but you aren't feeling chatty and you just want to leave me an emoji, go ahead and leave me a cloud emoji for the month of May. And that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!